My husband dumped me, whose waters had broken, on the highway and rushed off to celebrate his ex-girlfriend's birthday. From then on, I completely vanished. He bet with his friends. In less than 3 days, she'll definitely come back obediently. 10 days later, he froze all my bank cards and sent a threatening message. Come back immediately. Don't push your luck. 100 days later, he stormed into my best friend's house, pressuring her to hand me over. My best friend shoved the photos from the accident scene in front of him. Wake up. Your wife has been dead for a long time, and you're the one who claimed her body. Remember. 1. 8 months and 9 days pregnant. Guli took me for a prenatal checkup, but on the highway, he received a phone call. Guli, I've returned to the country. The speakerphone was on, and I immediately recognized that it was Chinjayu's voice. I nervously looked at Guli, and sure enough, his expression changed in an instant. He became tense, excited, and expectant. Today is my birthday. Can you come and accompany me? I'll be waiting for you at the usual place. Okay. I'll come right away. The call ended, and my heart sank to the bottom. Don't go. I sat in the passenger seat crying and pleading with him. Guli, you promised me. You said you would forget her. Guli's face was full of impatience. You're just going to celebrate her birthday. Why are you crying? Perhaps sensing my extreme negative emotions, the baby in my belly kicked me, and I gasped. My stomach hurts. Guli glanced at me with disdain. Stop pretending. I really hurt. Guli thought I was faking it and grew even more impatient, ignoring the danger. He slammed on the brakes. Get out. I couldn't believe it. As if I was truly getting to know him for the first time. Su Young. Get out. Don't make me say it a third time. His expression was extremely cold, and his tone was one of command, from childhood to now. Whenever he spoke to me in that tone, I knew I had to obey him. Otherwise, the consequences would be something I couldn't bear. I got off the car. My pants were soaked. My water had broken. He stepped on the gas and drove off, hurrying to celebrate his ex-girlfriend's birthday. He never looked back at me, standing there with my big belly, feeling helpless and desolate amidst the rushing traffic. 2. It wasn't until this moment that I finally gave up completely. It turns out that Guli really doesn't love me. How foolish I am. How stupid I am. How worthless I am. I can't believe it took me this long to admit the reality. When I was a child, Guli once gave me a piece of candy, and that was the first time I tasted something so delicious in my memory. But looking back now, it was nothing more than a momentary act of charity from him. In his eyes, I am no different from a stray dog on the street. I was originally an illegitimate child. My father didn't care for me. My mother abandoned me, and even my grandparents who raised me treated me with disdain. They provided me with food, yet always called me a little bastard, blaming me for ruining my mother's life. No one loved me. It was Guli who gave me the illusion of being loved. He once pulled me out of the mud and wouldn't let any child bully me. He also used his pocket money to buy me pretty little dresses. Took me to eat fried chicken and hamburgers. Even the very first spicy snack I ever had was shared with me by Guli. Because of this, I willingly followed him for 20 years, being his little shadow, his sidekick. At first, he was fairly good to me, just like he was with those brothers he hung out with. He never treated anyone poorly, until one night 8 months ago. Guli broke up with Chinjayu. He got drunk. He kissed me. He slept with me. The next day, he left without a word. I pretended to be unfazed and continued to be his little shadow. But a month later, I found out I was pregnant. 3. With a kind of inexplicable, anxious feeling, I told Guli about this matter. My heart felt as if it had been split in two, with one half pessimistically thinking that Guli would surely make me terminate this pregnancy, while the other half secretly hoped that Guli would allow me to keep this child. Guli was silent for a few seconds. then said, "Let's get married." I was completely stunned at the moment. Overwhelmed with joy and tears, I held him and cried so much that my face was a mess. He held my face with a mix of amusement and annoyance, wiping my tears while complaining, "You cry so ugly." Like a stray dog by the roadside, I wrapped my arms around his neck and buried my face in his chest. He laughed, his chest vibrating. "Are you that happy to marry me?" "Happy. Especially happy. I've never been this happy in my life." I stood on my tiptoes to kiss him, and he didn't back away, looking at me with tenderness. At that moment, I truly felt that he loved me too, but the reality is not a romantic drama. Slaps to the face always come particularly fast. 4. No wedding, no honeymoon, not even the blessings from both parents. Guli and I got our marriage certificate. And that's it. We're married. After marriage, I found that life was not as happy as I had imagined. Guli had never let go of Chinjiu. He would often stare at photos or videos of her on his phone, and whenever Chinjiu posted something on her moments, he could watch it repeatedly for several days. I kept all of this in my sight, and he showed no intention of hiding it at all. Finally, we began to argue time and time again. Guli has always been held up by me. He has never had any intention of yielding to me. The last time, he outright tore off the facade and mocked me, saying, "All right. Is it fun to make a fuss like this? You don't really think that getting a marriage certificate with me means you can control me, do you? You've been trailing behind me for so many years. You know better than anyone about my relationship with Chinjiu. Yes, I love her. I just can't forget her. So what?" I felt as if my heart had been pierced through, the pain so intense that I couldn't breathe. Yes. No one knows better than me how much Guli loves Chinjiu. Guli is the crown prince of the Gu family, a school bully and a top student since childhood. And as he grew up, he became a formidable presence in his circle. He is so proud, so radiant. And he never bows his head to anyone. But in his freshman year, he fell head over heels for Chinjiu and was willing to break all his boundaries for her. There was a time when Guli's arch-nemesis kidnapped Chinjiu and forced Guli to kneel. Without a shred of hesitation, Guli knelt down immediately. I was there too. I secretly hid in the corner and called the police. By the time they arrived, Guli was covered in blood and in a state of disarray. Yet he had shielded Chinjiu beneath him, unharmed. Thinking back to those years, all the things he did for Chinjiu, things that made me envious, jealous, and so inferior that I didn't dare to even think about them. He cries shook with emotion. "Since you love her so much, why do you still want to marry me? If it weren't for you getting pregnant without my permission, do you think I would marry you?" He sneered, completely shattering my dignity. After saying this, he slammed the door and left. I don't know how long it took to catch my breath again. And then, in a daze, I left that home. I didn't bring any luggage. Didn't bring my phone. Like a lost little dog, wandering the unfamiliar streets. It started to rain, and I didn't seek shelter, because I don't know what it means to evade. I also don't know what it means to live. Unknowingly, I arrived at the riverside bridge. I fell down. The icy river shot through my lungs in an instant, and I instinctively struggled, but soon gave up the fight. Just let it end like this. It's all good. 5. Unfortunately, the heavens do not grant one's wishes. I'm not dead. When I opened my eyes, Guli was sitting by my hospital bed. He looked pale and haggard, with bloodshot eyes, messy hair, and an unshaven face. Seeing me open my eyes, he quickly took my hand and said, Young, you're finally awake." It was clear that at that moment he was genuinely happy, as if he had regained something he thought he had lost. I wanted to speak, but my throat was so dry it hurt. He hurriedly fed me water and then repeatedly apologized at the bedside. Young, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those hurtful things. And I shouldn't have left you all alone. I won't do it again. Please don't be upset. For the sake of the child. Forgive me. I looked down at my 6-month belly, still round, thinking that the baby must be fine. Ghoulie, let's get a divorce. He was stunned, seemingly completely unprepared for me to say such a thing. Don't talk nonsense. And stop sulking at me. Go find Chinjayu. Don't mention her again. He suddenly raised his voice. We'll never mention her again from now on. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. But they stubbornly soaked my eyelashes anyway. He gently wiped my tears. You little crybaby. Clearly you love me to death, yet you dare to mention divorce. If we really separated, would you jump into the river again? None of your business. Who else should care? I've been taking care of you since you were little. I stopped arguing with him, but he seemed like a different person, busily taking care of me and expressing concern for the child in my belly. My cold heart was slowly warmed, thinking that he might have been frightened, and after this, he might realize that he also loves me, until I unintentionally overheard him on the phone with a friend. He was smoking, and sat on the other end. I've calmed her down. Don't worry. It's fine. I couldn't hear what the other side said. He laughed and swore a bit, then casually remarked, even a dog that's been kept for 20 years will have feelings. Moreover, Su Yang is even more loyal to me than a dog. She loves me and simply can't live without me. I stood frozen behind the door, my hands and feet icy cold. He extinguished the cigarette, hung up the phone, and froze the moment he raised his eyes to see me. 6. This time I didn't argue or make a fuss. I just silently turned around and returned to the bedroom. After a while, he came in too. He embraced me from behind and, in an extraordinarily gentle voice, whispered in my ear, Young Young, I love you. This was the first time I had heard those 3 words from his mouth, but I could no longer discern their truth. Don't overthink it. I promise you. I will treat you well from now on. Aren't you just bothered by Chinjayu? I assure you, I will never think of her again. From now on, my life will only have Yang Yang. Okay. I really wished I had the courage to push him away, but after brewing for so long, I only heard myself humbly say, okay. Ghoulie smiled with satisfaction. We reconciled from that moment on. Looking back now, everything was an illusion. I was just too greedy, too weak, lacking even the courage to face reality. After that, Ghoulie went on a business trip, and it lasted for 2 months. Every week, he would call me for a video chat to confirm that both I and the baby in my belly were safe. And then he would go back to his busy life. I could clearly feel that he had grown indifferent towards me again. He has always been this way. Ever since I was little, whenever he made me cry, he would patiently soothe me for a while. Once I was calmed down, he would show his true colors again, continuing to be indifferent and cruel. But my life is too barren. No one loves me. No one helps me. Although the candy given by Ghoulie was laced with arsenic, it was still the only sweetness in my life. He is the person in this world who understands me the most. So he feels fearless. 2 months later, Ghoulie came back, just in time for my prenatal checkup. He drove me to the hospital. Then the scene that started it all happened. I don't know what Ghoulie felt when he forced me out of the car. Perhaps he was really eager to see Chinjayu soon. Perhaps he thought I would still, like before, obediently find my way back to him after being discarded, and then continue to cling to his side. But no matter what he thought, this time, I really can't go back anymore. 7. I was slapped in the face again. When I regained consciousness, I was already back beside Ghoulie, but it seemed like he couldn't see me. I glanced at his watch. It had been 48 hours since he had thrown me on the highway. Even though I didn't want to, my consciousness still involuntarily followed Ghoulie. What is going on here? At this moment, Ghoulie had just parked his car and, as usual, made his way to the nightclub where he often gathered with friends. Unlike before, he who was always the center of attention, was not warmly welcomed this time. In fact, everyone present wore a different expression. They exchanged glances quietly, yet not a single person took the initiative to speak. "What's going on? You all seem quite surprised to see me." As he spoke, he sat down and poured himself a glass of wine. One of his closest friends, named Zhou Xing, broke the awkward silence. "No, brother, what are you doing here? Sister-in-law, don't worry. Within 3 days, she'll definitely come back obediently." Still in that nonchalant tone. It sounded very irritating. If it were in the past, his friends would be praising him at this moment, calling him a real man, saying he is fortunate, and that he knows how to handle a wife. Guli also enjoyed that kind of flattery, whether genuine or feigned, but this time, everyone fell into an eerie silence. Even 2 girls turned pale with fear. Guli was baffled. "Don't believe me. How about we make a bet?" Zhou Xing looked at him with a mix of shock and sympathy. We believe. Believe my ass." One of the girls couldn't stand it any longer and splashed a drink on Guli's head. "Get lost. Go find your Qinjieyu. You're not welcome here. Just the sight of you, scumbag, makes me sick." Guli had never been humiliated like this before. Several men stood in front of that girl, afraid that Guli might lay a hand on her. But strangely, the hot-headed Guli seemed to be stunned by the drink thrown at him. He said nothing, stood up, and stumbled away. In the end, he left behind just one sentence. "She will definitely come back in less than 3 days. She has never left me. She wouldn't dare." 8. My consciousness followed Guli back home. From that day on, Guli no longer sought out his friends. He didn't go to the office, nor did he look for Qinjieyu. He did only 2 things every day: drink, then call me or send me a message. "Su Yang, where the hell have you gone? Hurry up and roll back here. Su Yang, how dare you not answer my call? Have you gotten too bold? Su Yang, if you don't come back soon, I'm going to throw away all those worthless flowers you've been raising." He could send me hundreds of such messages in a day, but without exception, they all sank like stones into the sea. Guli was undeterred and still convinced that I was just sulking. He kept wreaking havoc at home, not only throwing my flowers but also dismantling the nursery I had meticulously prepared. He ripped all the baby clothes and toys I had carefully prepared into shreds. Every time he destroyed something, he would take a picture and send it to me, as if that would make me feel heartbroken and hasten my return home. But it was useless. Even if he turned our home into ruins, I never gave him the slightest response. On the 10th day of my disappearance, he seemed to come up with a new idea while drunk. He froze all of my bank cards. "Su Yang, if you want money, then get your ass back here. You're spending my money while gallivanting outside. Is this how you act as my wife?" But there was still no response, until the 100th day of my disappearance. He suddenly became calm, and then went to find Qinjieyu again. 9. Qinjieyu seemed very happy to see him, but noticing the strong smell of alcohol on him, she also displayed a sense of worry. She took him to a beauty salon, starting with a hot spring soak, then a haircut, followed by a facial, taking care of him from head to toe, before finally nodding in satisfaction. Guli remained numb throughout, letting her fuss over him without a word, only continuously taking photos and posting them online. In just one day, he took Qinjieyu to buy jewelry, diamond rings, a house, a car, clothes, and bags. His social media feed was filled with over 100 posts of him and Qinjieyu showcasing their love, with a wide circle of friends. He naturally received a plethora of comments and likes. One comment stood out especially: "Happy 99. For the scumbags. Please lock them out. The commenter is my one and only best friend in this life. Ji Xiaoyuan." I understand that Guli is posting these moments on WeChat to provoke me, to make me jealous, and then hurried back to his side to assert his claim. He used to do this often, and each time I would comply with his wishes. But this time is different. Ji Xiaoyuan's comment seems to have reminded him. He stared for a moment, then left the delighted Chen Jieyu behind. Angrily heading to Ji Xiaoyuan's home. Ji Xiaoyuan, did you hide Su Yang? Ji Xiaoyuan, open the door for me. He knocked on the door bang bang, wishing he could tear it down. Ji Xiaoyuan suddenly pulled the door open. Gu Li, what are you doing? Hand over Su Yang, otherwise I'll tear your house apart. Gu Li stubbornly barged in, searching room by room. Ji Xiaoyuan was so furious that she rushed forward and grabbed his collar, shoving her phone in front of him. On the phone screen was a gruesome, bloody, yet very clear photo of a car accident scene. In the photo, a heavily pregnant woman lay in a pool of blood in an extremely bizarre posture. Blood was streaming from her mouth and nose, and her hands and feet seemed to be broken from the impact, with blood all around her swollen belly. One can imagine the kind of suffering she endured before her death. In those vacant pupils, there seemed to linger despair and wretchedness that had yet to dissipate. My soul shuddered, and then suddenly realized, that woman was me. I was struck by a fatigued truck and died on the spot. A case of one body, two lives. Gu Li stood as if struck by lightning, completely motionless. Even her breathing had come to a standstill. He stared fixedly at the photo from the accident scene, his eyes slowly staining with a deep crimson. Wake up. Your wife has been dead for a long time. You even claimed the body. Remember. 10. Ji Xiaoyuan looked at him with a cold smile. It was you who left her on the highway. Remember. You hurried off to celebrate Chen Jieyu's birthday, unable to wait even a minute. Even if her water had just broken and she was about to give birth, you still forced her out. Gu Li's hands trembled as he held his phone, unable to control himself as he knelt on the ground. I didn't know her water had broken. She said her stomach hurt, but I thought. Ji Xiaoyuan sneered coldly. You thought she was just playing tricks, throwing a tantrum. In your heart, she is nothing more than a dog that you raise, and the children she bears are just pups. The lives of that mother and child combined are not worth a single hair from Chen Jieyu. Shut up. It's not like that. Gu Li pounded his fist heavily on the ground, as if he could no longer bear it, and he began to cry out loud. For the first time in all these years, I saw Gu Li cry. He seemed to shed all his armor, his personality regressing to that of a child. Ji Xiaoyuan looked down at him. Mr. Gu, are you here to put on a performance of overwhelming sorrow in my home? Sorry, but I'm not interested in being that audience. Gu Li cried to the point of forgetting himself, completely ignoring what Ji Xiaoyuan was saying. Ji Xiaoyuan simply took out her phone, recorded a video of him kneeling on the ground and wailing loudly, then posted it to her friend's circle. Accompanying the post was the caption, Annual source of amusement. Ji Xiaoyuan, I, and Gu Li have a large overlap in our social circle. Many people are quite clear about the matters between Gu Li and me, as well as the cause of my death. Many people who usually can't stand Gu Li started leaving comments and liking posts one after another. Could this be the legendary wild donkey fart? What nonsense. It's clear that President Gu only realized the importance of milk after his child died. His child really did die, just on the verge of being born, but was killed by the father's own hands. One death, two lives. This scumbag should be sent for dissection to see if there's some kind of genetic mutation. Otherwise, how could he commit such a monstrous act? Because Chen Jieyu, the campus belle, has such charm. Look at how President Gu was enchanted, tossing his wife and child right onto the highway. Perhaps President Gu thinks the highway is owned by his family, so even if he throws them onto it, no car would dare to crash. Is this murder? The police should hold the scumbag and the cheap woman accountable. Maybe Gu Li and Chen Jieyu conspired to kill someone using a borrowed car. There should be a thorough investigation to see if Gu Li had previously taken out any huge insurance policies for Su Yang. People love to stir the pot, and many in the social circle have Chin Jae-yu, urging her to come out and say something, to give an explanation. Chin Jae-yu came from a middle-class family. She was not only beautiful but also smart, always being cherished since childhood and had never been ridiculed by so many people at once. She, of course, couldn't accept it. But she was smart enough not to fall into the trap of self-justification. Perhaps in her eyes, she was Gu Li's only true love. And I was nothing more than a little trinket for Gu Li to amuse himself with. She believed that the ridicule and insults from these people were due to their ignorance of the truth. And so she made a decision she would regret for life. She compiled a video containing various photos of her and Gu Li as well as sweet vlogs. It recorded the various expensive gifts that Gu Li had given her, and the luxurious sights he had taken her to see. Every time she fell ill, Gu Li remained by her side. Under the fireworks, Gu Li made a heartfelt vow to love her for 10,000 years. She posted the video on major platforms, bought traffic, and hired online commenters, instantly making the video trending. Her Weibo account gained 800,000 followers in a single day, and all of them were fans shipping her and Gu Li as a couple. After all, the popular tags of handsome men, beautiful women, rich second generation, showing off love, and pure love warriors are all included. Seeing that the hype was sufficient, Chin Jae-yu published an 8,000-word essay. In the essay, not only did she detail the entire process of her meeting, falling in love, misunderstanding, and breaking up with Gu Li, but she also focused on writing about me. In her description, I became a shameless third party, a licker, a gold digger with delusions of climbing up to Gu Li. She emphasized my background, that my mother was a third party, that I was an illegitimate child, that my character was corrupt. I had an amazing talent for tea arts since childhood, but I wasn't very smart and was always seen through by those around me. She said I lacked love because I wasn't worth loving by anyone. She also said that she broke up with Gu Li because of me, as she made Gu Li completely sever ties with me. But I clung to Gu Li with all sorts of green tea and white lotus tactics, which was the direct cause of their breakup. Later, taking advantage of Gu Li being drunk, I climbed into his bed and cunningly got pregnant to force his hand. Gu Li had no choice but to marry me, but after marriage, I engaged in all sorts of unreasonable tantrums and self-destructive behavior, making Gu Li extremely frustrated with me. In the end, I even had an argument with Gu Li on the highway, recklessly jumping out of the car without regard for danger, and getting hit by a vehicle is something I deserved. Claiming 2 lives along with mine is also something I deserved. Gu Li was thus in unbearable pain. Yet my friends were cyberbullying her and Gu Li. She employed a plethora of rhetorical devices, provided cherry-picked examples, and presented a version of truth that was 3 parts true and 7 parts false, all to her greatest advantage. In the end, she successfully shaped my image into that of a self-destructive and malicious female antagonist who brought harm to both herself and others. She and Gu Li, however, are lovers who have endured many hardships and are finally reunited. Of course, the most important thing is that she and Gu Li are suffering from online bullying because of me. She feels very wronged and aggrieved, and she is now severely depressed. Many fans who do not know the truth have been misled and are standing by her side, speaking up for her. She looked at the comments praising her, sympathizing with her, and envying her, feeling as if she were floating on air. Seeing all the comments pulling me down, cursing me, and attacking me, I couldn't help but feel exhilarated. The hype around this incident grew higher and higher, trending on major platforms for 3 consecutive days. Then, her nightmare truly began. 11. She never realized that she had messed with the wrong person. Those who criticized Gu Li and her in the circle of friends can be divided into 2 types. The first one is a rival of Gu Li and has a grudge against him. Those who can become rivals are not likely to differ greatly in strength. Perhaps in the past years, Gu Li relied on his family background, abilities, and luck to repeatedly outsmart his rivals in business. Yet, they ultimately belong to the same circle as Guli. These individuals, like him, are beyond Chin Jae-yu's reach. The second type is friends with Guli. But due to my death, they are utterly disappointed in his character and integrity. These people are similar to the first type. Although they may not possess as much money or power as Guli, they are also not short of funds, since they dared to insult Guli. It proves that they have unilaterally severed ties with her. The commonality between these two types of people is that they are wealthy and not to be messed with. Chin Jae-yu's fans gradually became dissatisfied with merely insulting me. They traced through the internet and unearthed all those who had criticized Chin Jae-yu on their social media, and systematically harassed them online, sending various threats to their families and disturbing their ancestors for generations. What's more, some even photoshopped tribute portraits to the deceased, sent wreaths, and splashed paint or urine. The online world is chaotic, and when that chaos seeps into reality, it becomes unbearable for everyone. These people were completely enraged. They spent money and leveraged connections, sorting through the stories of Guli and me, as well as the stories of Guli and Chin Jae-yu from all these years, and paired them with various complete pieces of evidence, together posting everything online. Overnight, Guli's image as a devoted male god and Chin Jae-yu's image as a beloved goddess were utterly shattered. In these articles, Guli and I met each other in childhood. While helping me, my experiences of being PUA'd were confirmed in various ways. On the surface, it seems I stuck to him from childhood until now, but in reality, Guli simply did not allow anyone else to get close to me, except for Ji Xiaoyuan. Because she was a special case, Guli had no way to handle her. Growing up, I could only sit beside him as a desk partner, only have meals with him, and play with him. Whenever any other kids got close to me, regardless of gender or reason, he would violently drive them away. He constantly instilled the idea in me that only he would be good to me in the whole world. He kept telling me, I have no one who loves me, and I don't deserve to be loved by anyone, so I had to obediently stay by his side. No one else would want me. In high school, I had excellent grades while Guli's were average. To ensure we could go to the same university, he drugged my drink, causing me to have diarrhea on the day of the college entrance exam, resulting in a poor performance. Of course, Guli also gave up his choice to study abroad, deciding instead to stay in the country and attend the same university as me. Given his family background, it didn't really matter which university he attended. After all, he was destined to inherit the family business. Yet, he selfishly clipped my wings and later told me that he stayed in the country for me. At that time, I was moved to death. I truly believed that perhaps he also liked me. Otherwise, why would he give up going abroad just to be with me? Now, after his death, I finally know the truth, which is both sad and ridiculous. In college, he kept me dangling, enjoying my dependence and affection for him. While he was in a relationship with Chin Jae-yu, he was adept at playing both sides, thinking that I could never escape his control. As for his breakup with Chin Jae-yu, it wasn't because of me. It was because Chin Jae-yu pressured him into marriage. He hesitated. Coincidentally, at that time, there was a more capable rich second generation pursuing her, and he extended an invitation to go abroad together, to which she gladly agreed. Guli was thus dumped. After that, Guli drowned his sorrows in alcohol and took the opportunity to have a relationship with me. My biggest mistake was not pushing Guli away. Afterwards, when I got pregnant, it was Guli who took the initiative to propose marriage. But after we were married, he did not fulfill his responsibilities and obligations as a husband. He still has an inseparable connection with Chin Jae-yu. Chin Jae-yu was dumped abroad and returned to seek out Guli. To celebrate Chin Jae-yu's birthday, Guli left his wife, who was in labor, on the highway. While he was in a sweet relationship with Chin Jae-yu, I was crushed to pieces by a big truck. In the article, several tragic photos of the scene of the car accident were also posted. The shocking level made it difficult for almost everyone who saw it to sleep. These articles were reprinted like crazy. Because of Chin Jieyu's previous popularity, coupled with the traffic she spent money on, the situation was completely reversed. 12. Chin Jieiyu was about to go mad. Once she was as ethereal as a fairy. Now she was in so much pain that she wished for death. All those fans who once adored her had switched to hating her and began to cyberbully her. In addition, there were also many bystanders who felt justice was in their hands and joined in on the attack. They not only cursed her and condemned her, but they also dug into every detail of Chin Jieyu's life, every family member, every close friend, every boyfriend and person of interest she had ever known. People are imperfect. Beneath the seemingly perfect facade, there may be unimaginable filth lurking. Originally, her parents were in love. However, netizens dug up that she was not her father's biological daughter. She was the product of her mother's infidelity with an old lover. As a result, her parents divorced, and her mother was left without anything. For this, her mother slapped her more than 30 times, directly causing her eardrum to rupture. Most of her close friends were just as disreputable. Various green tea bitches. Each suffered from different degrees of online bullying. Some were dumped. Some were expelled. And even those who were supposed to pass the public service exam were completely ruined due to the fallout from Chin Jieyu's incident. As for the 17 former boyfriends she had dated, each one was a rich heir, and with their wealth came an abundance of filth. They were once unknown, but now their disgrace is common knowledge. Even her distant relatives, her aunts and uncles, and even her kindergarten classmates have been implicated. These people encompass all of Chin Jieyu's social connections. They surrounded and besieged Chin Jieiyu from all sides, using every means to take revenge on her, turning her into a rat scurrying across the street. With no other options, Chin Jieiyu sought out Gu Li again. However, at this moment, Gu Li had already been taken by her family to a psychiatric hospital. 12. Gu Li's condition stemmed from her inability to accept my death. The symptoms are mental confusion and cognitive disorientation. He forgot my death. Forgot that he had signed the body claim form, even when Ji Xiaoyuan confronted him that day and shattered his delusions. It only brought him a fleeting moment of clarity. When he woke up early the next day, he was still searching for me everywhere. He drove back and forth on the highway, several times going against traffic. After the traffic police forcibly stopped him, he still struggled to refuse leaving, insisting that his wife was still on the highway, that she was pregnant, her water had broken, and she was about to give birth. The police contacted the Gu family, and they sent him to a psychiatric hospital. Upon examination, he was diagnosed with severe bipolar disorder, accompanied by mild consciousness disorder, with strong tendencies toward aggression and self-harm, necessitating compulsory hospitalization. But after he was hospitalized, aside from Ji Xiaoyuan visiting him from time to time, no one from the Gu family mentioned him again. Speaking of which, Gu Li's background is somewhat similar to mine. His parents had a marriage of convenience, and after he was born, they divorced and went their separate ways, leaving Gu Li to be raised by his grandparents. However, the Gu family and the Chin family agreed that no matter how many more children Gu dad might have, Gu Li would always be the sole heir of the Gu family. It was precisely for this reason that Gu Li had the capital to be arrogant and domineering since childhood. But after he developed a mental illness, everything changed. The Gu family is wealthy and powerful, and it is impossible to hand over the family business to a mentally ill person. Although Gu's father has never remarried, he has 3 adult illegitimate sons, all of whom are intelligent, well-behaved, and outstanding. In the past, with Gu Li suppressing them, these 3 illegitimate children behaved relatively well. Now that Gu Li has fallen, they are jumping higher than anyone else. Gu dad never had any paternal feelings for Gu Li. Everything was merely a choice driven by interests. As for his side of the Chin family, his mother had passed away long ago. His grandmother used to dote on him, and even his uncles were willing to support him, making the Gu family dare not entertain other ideas. Ever since I died, Grandma has completely lost interest in Guli and no longer cares about him. Speaking of which, Grandma Chin used to really like me, and I liked her a lot too. Her support was also very important for my marriage to Guli. But Guli didn't like me being close to Grandma. I didn't understand why at first. But now I get it. He lacks a sense of security. Being domineering and selfish, he doesn't allow me to have any close relationships other than with him. Not even with his grandmother. He wants my world to consist of only him, just as his world consists of only me. Every time Ji Xiaoyuan visits him, she shows him the photos from the accident scene. She told him over and over, "Your wife is dead. Your wife was left by you on the highway and was hit by a car. She bled so much. Do you think she felt no pain? What about the baby in her belly? Did it feel pain?" Each time, she was able to shatter the illusion Guli had woven, and once Guli was forced to awaken, he would plunge into extreme guilt and agony. He would scream madly, cry bitterly, self-harm, and then be injected with sedatives. The dosage continuously increased. After waking up from a sleep, he returned to the dreamscape he had woven, constantly shouting that he wanted to go out to find his wife, who was about to have a baby. When Qin Jieyu found the hospital, this was the sight she saw: Guli, half alive. 13. Guli. How did you end up like this? Do you still recognize me? Guli had just finished taking his medicine, and his mood was listless, but he recognized her. Qin Jieyu. Qin Jieyu nodded frantically, then, with tears in her eyes, threw herself into his arms, expressing the grievances she had endured during this time. Woo. Guli, please get better soon. They bully me when you're not here. Guli listened with vacant eyes, but it seemed he wasn't really listening. He was just lost in his own world. Perhaps it was the overwhelming fear and anger that had built up during this time. Qin Jieyu was furious, and not caring that he was a patient, she shouted directly, "When are you going to stop lying to yourself? Su Yang is dead. She is dead. Can you wake up, please? She deserved to die. It was her who intervened in our love. It was she who schemed to get pregnant with your child. She brought this upon herself. You are not at fault. I am not at fault. The one at fault is Su Yang. She deserves to die. She should have died long ago." Perhaps it was her series of deaths that stirred Guli. Guli's gaze was no longer vacant, but what gathered in his eyes was of frenzied hatred and fury. He grabbed Qin Jieyu by the neck, his grip astonishingly strong, as if he intended to choke her to death right there. It's you. It's you who caused her death. If you hadn't called me, I wouldn't have abandoned her. She wouldn't have been hit by a car. Yang shouldn't have died. It's you who should die. It's you, you bastard. At this moment, Qin Jieyu was truly frightened. Guli is now a lunatic. Even if he really killed her, he wouldn't have to bear any legal responsibility. If the nurse hadn't rushed in at the last moment to inject him with a sedative, who knows? Qin Jieyu might have actually been strangled to death right here. She was terrified after escaping death and rushed out of the hospital. However, in her panic, she didn't even look at the traffic lights and was directly struck by a large vehicle. Fortunately, although she was severely injured, she survived. Unfortunately, while she survived, she suffered multiple comminuted fractures in her face, and even with cosmetic surgery, there would be serious long-term consequences. Her most prized beauty was completely gone. 14. After Qin Jieyu's accident, everything came to a definite end. Ji Xiaoyuan never came to see Guli again. The names of the three of us gradually faded from the public eye. My soul began to dissipate, and I knew that the day of my complete departure was not far off. A year later, Guli's condition gradually stabilized. It seemed he had finally come to accept the fact that I had been killed by him. The medical staff also unanimously agreed that he was recovering quite well, and that in 2 years, he should be able to be discharged and go home. Later, he really was discharged. But whether it was the Gu family or the Chin family, there was no longer a place for him to call home. On his first night wandering the streets, he used a knife to cut off his own tongue and blinded himself. That night was the last night my soul would linger in the human realm. I entered his dream. In the dream, I asked him, "Why did you do that?" He said, "If I cut off my tongue, I will never be able to speak words that hurt you again. If I poke out my eyes, I will never be blinded by appearances and fail to recognize my true self." I asked again, "Then why not just die directly?" He said, "You probably don't want to see me, so I can't die yet. I must live on, burdened by my sins, enduring immense pain until the very moment my life ends. Before plunging into hell, I asked one last question. Why did you do that in the first place? Why did you push me off the bus?" He said, "This is a question I've asked myself countless times. It's precisely because I can't understand it, can't accept it, that I've been driven increasingly mad. But then one day, I finally realized that perhaps it was the evil within my heart. In this evil, there is my selfishness and my insecurity. I needed to constantly trample on you, to hurt you, to confirm your love for me. I thought you would endure me forever, that you would never leave me, but I was completely wrong." In the last moment of the fading dream, he said to me, Yang, you should go, never forgive me, and never encounter me again. If there is a next life, remember to love yourself well." The dream came to an end, and my soul completely dissipated. Extra episode 15. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the age of 5. I encountered 6-year-old Guli once more. The difference is, when he offered me candy again, I pushed him away. In this life, I no longer need anyone's pity or charity. And I will no longer beg for anyone's love, because I know that, regardless, there will be someone who will love me well, and that is myself. If my grandparents don't feed me, I will go out to collect cardboard, pick up trash, and sell a little for money to buy food. My grandparents wanted to hit me, so I ran around crying, shouting to let all the neighbors know about their cruel deeds. But they could never touch a single hair on my head. When bad kids bullied me, I fought back recklessly, biting and hitting until I completely intimidated them, until they called me big sister whenever they saw me, and then I directed them to help me pick up trash. Later, I took the initiative to approach the community workers, explaining my situation to them. After their investigation, they found that I was indeed very pitiful and often suffered from beatings and abuse by my grandparents. The community helped me contact the Women's Federation, and 2 workers came to my home for a visit, applying moral pressure on my grandparents. These 2 old guys care about their reputation, and in front of them, I kept assuring that I would never be mistreated again. At the same time, the staff from the Women's Federation also got in touch with my biological parents, who I had long since lost track of. They demanded that my biological parents had to pay me a monthly allowance according to the law, or else they would sue them. Under the pressure of reason and the law, I received 2 additional payments each month in the form of support. It wasn't much, only $2,000, but it was enough to ensure my basic needs were met. I relied on my youthful charm and sweet tongue, gaining Aunt Zhang's fondness. So Aunt Zhang never forgot about me. She would regularly come back for visits, checking the accounts to see if my grandparents were spending my share of the support money on me. It was precisely because of Aunt Zhang's intimidation that my ignorant and prideful grandparents dared not continue mistreating me, honestly spending the money on me instead. But I was not satisfied with this. I drew on my experiences and knowledge from my past life to start writing various children's stories. I asked Aunt Jiang to help me submit my work to various children's literature magazines, and she was pleasantly surprised that I had such a talent. With her own network, my stories quickly appeared in the pages of major children's literature magazines. As for my royalties, they rose from the initial 20 yuan per piece to 200 yuan, then 1,000 yuan. At the age of 12, A publishing house compiled and published 100 fairy tales I had written, titled The Lost Little Moon. Thanks to this book, I reaped 2 million in royalties. My fame grew, and the school began arranging for me to participate in various speeches, youth activities, interviews, and television variety shows. By the time I turned 15, I had already become a nationally renowned young author. My negligent parents, who had always cast me aside, began fighting for my custody. I decided to write a memoir about their abandonment of me and the abuse I suffered from my grandparents, and I serialized it in major magazines and websites simultaneously. I garnered a large amount of sympathy and attention, and my royalties skyrocketed even further. The scummy dad and mom came knocking, wanting to hit and scold me, but all of it was captured by the hidden cameras I had set up. Once the video was posted online, they were utterly disgraced, becoming the rats that everyone wanted to chase. And from that moment on, they completely disappeared from my world. At the age of 17, with my excellent college entrance exam scores, I finally got accepted into my dream top university, the renowned top 1 university in the country. I became a quality idol in the eyes of countless students and parents. At the age of 20, I co-founded a film and television company with a few classmates. At 22, I invested in an e-commerce company started by several classmates. At 25, I seized the opportunity in the short video industry, and my net worth surpassed 10 billion. A journalist interviewed me, asking what the secret to my success was. I replied, "Love yourself well." The reporter asked again, "I heard that there are various elite suitors around you, but it seems like you've never been in a relationship. Can you tell us why?" "Perhaps it's just that fate hasn't arrived yet," the reporter asked. "Then what is your ideal type like?" I chuckled. "It should be just like me, right? Ha ha ha." End.